Pop in, say hi. If you've never come to one of my lives before, hi, I'm Cindy. I explore the inside and the outside. Sunday nights, I have a live show called Chatters Live. I call it Chatters Live because the people who kind of come and hang out with me, right, just in keeping company, in decompressing from our week or pumping ourselves up for the next week, right? We've been enjoying each other's company for years now. Owen, hello, Owen. How have you been doing, dear? There's nothing new, nothing exciting. Sometimes no news is good news. But let me know, Owen, how you're doing. I haven't talked to you for a little bit. I don't know what you've missed because there has been lots going on in my private life, and but that's been ongoing now for a few weeks, and we have talked since then. Okay, I thought so, right? Just from my inquiry on that, Owen, I thought so. I don't know if you want to say what's going on here or if you want to give me a message later on. You have my email. We can talk about it later if you want to. But I am really happy that you're here, Owen. I hope whatever it is, it's nothing that you can't manage. And it's nothing that is going to turn your life upside down, right? Those are the rough ones. I've been trying to feel my way around a little bit in the changes that have been coming into my life and trying to make the best choices for myself as I possibly can, but also keeping in mind that, I'm sharing it. I'm sharing it with my family. I'm sharing it here online and with you guys. And we've been friends for a very long time, Owen. So, uh, yeah, I would love to hear from you, Owen. Don't rush yourself. Just know that I am here, Owen, for you any time, right? And in the difficult times that I go through, you know how much I appreciate just not even necessarily unloading what's going on in my life in the moment, but just having somebody who actually cares just to keep me company, even if it's not saying anything. It's just sitting with each other and just knowing that what it's a hard thing we're dealing with. It's a painful thing maybe that we're dealing with, a sad thing we're dealing with. Sometimes it's a lot of stuff all at the same time. Sometimes, right? It's difficult sometimes even to bring up because we think that people won't understand. But like I said, it doesn't matter if people understand. We understand you, and you understand me, Owen, right? And to anybody else who is here, this is why we hang out on Sunday nights, and we've been doing it for all these years, right? So that we can kind of move through the ups and downs together. And even though one person could be up, somebody could be down, and somebody could be down, and somebody could be up, right? And that's being able to rebound off of each other no matter what. I have an abundance of energy. This is my problem right now, you guys. I have such an abundance of energy, and I am kind of drifting in the ocean, right? Looking for things to put that energy today towards, I meant to say, but at the same time, in saying towards, I was thinking today in helping my nephew a little bit, right? He moved into my building, my nephew. Oh my goodness. One of my goals is not to end my life living in subsidized housing where the government is contributing to the roof over my head, that, that I'm in a position to take care of myself. And I'm a very independent person. But you know what? We all rely on people. And sometimes that's a good lesson for me, right? That I shouldn't be so stubborn and so single minded and independent, that, that when things are difficult, or if I have a question or a problem, that I can ask for help, right? Or ask for just company. And yeah, at the same time, like I just coming out of that conversation, right? Each one of us, we got to make that decisions for ourselves, and help where we can. I understand that you only have to work and deal with what comes across your path, but we got to talk about nature. And it's my nature to live and move and be a certain way, and I feel those gaps when I'm not in that mix. Hello, Andrew. Hello, Kathy. I love all those hearts. Thank you so much. I'm glad you guys popped in tonight. Tonight, you guys would have normally have been a show and tell night. And right, I don't have that job that afforded me that. I'm not even looking at it now like it was a privilege, because there was no room in this apartment. I wouldn't want anybody to think that I was a hoarder. I think I have to the limits right now. I don't even have wall space anymore. So yeah, I am uh, happy a little bit that the show and tells have ended, because I just didn't want to buy stuff because, oh, I love that. Would my audience love to see this item, and not truly buy it for myself? I kind of have, um I don't know what it is, but the things in my house, I really love. I really love the energy. I have little routines when I bring things home before they can settle in with the rest of the family, meaning all my doodads that I have here. Even in the moment, I just finished washing my dragons, and they've been sitting on top of my computer getting sun, getting re-energized, right? Getting ready to be. I'm not sure where I'll put my little dragons. Maybe in my smalls cabinet. I've been trying to do little projects around the house to get ahead a little bit for when I do have that busy coming into my life. I just don't want to be busy for the sake of busy, but I can see there are lots of things that I still need to get done in here. And at the same time, I am starting to poke my head out of the ground, right? In that little bit of decompression that I had, I didn't recognize that I needed to slow down as much as I did. And I've been out of my job. Is it 2 weeks today? 2 weeks yesterday? That I have been technically unemployed. Oh my goodness. I saved enough for a couple of months. I'm going to see if I can pick up maybe a waitressing job or something for a couple of days a week. I don't need much. I just need to put the roof over my head. I have absolutely everything I need. But what I need to do is set myself up so I can apply myself even more into my brand, to get myself situated so that I am on the road. I almost had a car this week, you guys. Didn't even have a job. I can understand the car is coming into my life because I know my last day at work, one of my customers, who happens to be a friend at the same time, he offered to take me out to look at a vehicle. And I'm thinking, what am I doing going to look at vehicles? I don't even have a job anymore. But then I'm thinking the mindset, and what you think about is realize, and move towards the things you want and they manifest. This is what I'm thinking. So I went off with my friend and we checked out the car. Wasn't quite vehicle that I was looking for. It had low kilometers, but it's a little bit older than what I had hoped for. It was not even safety. I still had a little bit of body work to do on it in order to get it safety. And I just no, it wasn't a choice. But right, I was moving towards the car. My sister Alice bought a new vehicle. I'm so excited for her. And she sent me a picture of it, and it's just really, really a nice vehicle. So happy for her. And she asked me if I wanted her car. So the car rolling back into my life, trying to stick, right? But I'm trying to think, is it right? So we looked to see if we could just transfer the insurance because there's no way that it would pass a safety. I would have to get the horn fixed and a whole bunch of other things, but the horn for sure for the immediate safety. The car runs, it's got new tires, it's got a lot of miles on it, it's on its last breath, but it would be a set of wheels to get me started, to get me out and about, to maybe, right? In putting the roof over my head, possibly, maybe work for myself or partner up with my sister. These are ideas. My sister's a bit of a procrastinator, and me being a little bit of a procrastinator that way too. I have that energy. I just need somebody to run with, right? But not somebody that's going to hold me back. Not somebody who's going to say, I don't think so, or let me think. I don't need that. If when I'm going, I am going in that. And for me, it's just a little bit frustrating because I'm not going to drag anybody behind me. I'm not going to drag anybody alongside me. I want somebody who would be just as enthusiastic because that's the only way that it would work, right? Is if she would be just as enthusiastic about teaming up as I am. We sort of kind of already did, didn't we? You know, and and I've been learning lots in that process, and not only in that process, but at work, in the researching and at the different tools and stuff, in learning about a lot of the stock that rolled into my store, I think it would be a good move for me, right? At the very least, I have the stock. I have the stock. I am not emotionally tied to any of this except for anything that has the cream or the white in it. That stays with me, right? But I got all this to move all of it. But because of the conflict of interest in my job, I couldn't do it while I was at this job. And it's either going to put on one great big massive spectacular, because everybody who walks into my apartment is blown away with the stuff that I have, right? My sister the other day, she doesn't like things closed in, and I have my pieces of furniture that I want to take with me when I move to my new place, my bigger place. But in the meantime, I am using it as a bit of a storage facility here, which is kind of a hoarder situation while hoarding my furniture for my new apartment that I haven't even looked at moving towards yet. But I've got my stuff ready. I've got all my artwork, my few pieces, not a big couch or anything, but I got a nice chair, dresser. I have everything that I need. I don't truly want a part with the big pieces, or like I said, the pieces where I brought the cream and the white into the decor, because that's part of my new place. But everything else can go bye-byes, all of it. And that would be an amazing yard sale. It really would. I'd like to make it an estate sale and just open up my doors and just let people come in and just buy everything cash on hand, right? Maybe I would have enough to get that vehicle for myself, right? It's still coming into the picture. Cars moving towards, they want to stick, but nothing so far is sticking with me. But I can feel it wants to come with me or come to me. Yeah, it'll be really nice to have a vehicle to get back on the road. Springer's here, you guys. I've put away a couple of $1,000 for that vehicle already. I haven't touched that money, and it's sitting there, and I don't want to touch it in order to put a roof over my head. And I'm determined not to, but things come across my path for a reason. I'm only saying that because this year, for the first time in my life, I have to pay taxes. I wasn't considered low income. I couldn't. I have to be honest in my taxes. There's all kinds of boxes and stuff that you can check off and maybe make a little deduction here and there. But good conscience, I'm not that person. But as I'm doing my taxes, I'm going, I wonder how many millionaires out there would be checking that box, and checking, right? But I don't have that in me. And I'm pretty good at doing income tax returns. And I went over it a few times. I know I did it right. I was just kind of hoping it would turn out a little bit better for me, right? Because that would have been amazing if I had a little refund that it could go into the little kitty, right? In that consideration that I'm putting a roof over my head, but I'm not worried about it, right? It is uh it is pretty amazing how things work out. Even with my nephew moving into this building, I didn't realize even that they let anybody under 50 years old move into this building. I thought it was an there was just so many old people in this building that I just assumed it was just for it was just for seniors, right? It's just young people don't want to live in a building that's full of seniors and people who are low incomes. There's a lot of low incomes in this building too. But then again, it's a government housing building, so lots of people would live in this building for lots of different reasons, right? But yeah, he's in the building. It's really funny how things work out. I helped moved a little bit today and helped put things together and stuff. He's not very handy dandy. In fact, I am a lot more handy dandy than he is, but we got the job done, right? And everything else he can just take his time and yeah, take his time, get himself settled in and enjoy a new experience. The one thing, I've moved lots in my life. I would have to be honest in saying in the past 30 years, maybe, that I've only moved 2 or 3 times, right? But, before that, it was like almost every year. And as a small child, it was maybe even a couple of times in the span of a year that I would move. My dad would buy a house and we'd move somewhere else. For me, it was always an opportunity to adjust my persona, right? I wanted people to like me. I wanted to be able to make friends. I always blamed it on the fact that what's the point of making friends? Dad's just going to buy another house and we're going to move again anyway, right? And so, but I don't think that was the case because, I wouldn't have tried so hard to be a little bit more acceptable to people, right? Because I did want to belong. Somehow, I don't know how it happened, right? I just didn't grow up as someone who could easily fit in. And again, it was that dynamic upbringing that I had, right? And lots of us do have dynamic upbringings. And it does give us sometimes, I think, curious personalities and curious traits that sometimes that we beat ourselves up for having, right? That we look at it and think it's not acceptable. But you know what? Some of those changes, and we were talking about changes, um, it's an amazing thing because it's a brand new experience. Just coming in just to make sure missing. Oh, and Hannah's here too. Hello, Hannah. I hope everybody's week is going really good. I don't want to trail too far down the road because I can easily be distracted today. A little energy, My sister was going 100 miles an hour, and being around my family is very draining sometimes. We do get on each other's nerves, but we are family, and we respect each other's, right? Because if we do get tired or we do get cranky or we're not paying attention or in something, or right, that we can call each other on that and not take offense in it. You know what I mean? That sometimes we get so sensitive when people um, have a negative kind of thought, right? Or again, be cranky because we do rub off each other. If one person's cranky, they want company guaranteed. But yeah, it's good to have you back, Owen. It really is good to have you back. And send me send me an email. We'll have a little chit chat. We don't have to go deep or anything, just as far as just so that you know that I do care. And and it's sometimes in having these experiences that we can find ways to help each other out, right? Uh we were actually talking about this today. It's funny. We were actually talking about this about my nephew because we inquired with my nephew how he was holding out. We got him moved into his apartment today, but this has been an ongoing process for him for, I would say, just about a month. And I would think that he would have been pretty wired by the entire experience, pretty exhausted by the experience, a little bit agitated, a little bit worried. So we inquired after him in this move. And my sister reassured me that he was doing okay. And I thought about it. I says, because lots of us, when things are not going well, or there's something personal on the plate, or just something that we don't want to pull others into, right? That we hold it in to ourselves. That, I says, I bet you, Adrian's my nephew's name. I says, I bet you he's exhausted. I bet you he's in his apartment now. Tonight's his first night in his apartment. That we got his bed made, we got his desk put together, right? His chair put together, his dishes in the cupboard, right? He's got to hang up some clothes. That's what he's got to do. He's got to hang up some clothes, and he's got a couple of weeks just to settle himself in. But he does, like me when I quit my job, right? He needs to decompress. And maybe like me, he doesn't even recognize it because he assured us, I'm good. Like everything is fine. I got lots of energy and right, I'm not stressed, I'm not worried, right? But I believe that he's gonna have a good sleepy tonight. He'll probably have a good sleepy for the next few nights. right? But at the same time, maybe he'll have a little bit of excitement that he'll want to go to the department store and buy a piece of furniture or something for his apartment to help him settle in a little bit better. But I'm certain, right, that he just can't be floating. I tend to do that. But the thing is, when I'm at work and stuff, I have to be paying attention. It's just not my own well being, it's everybody else's well being at the same time, right? So, maybe he is okay. He seemed to be handling the stress very, very well. But he's young. And we're older too, so we worry a little bit. But we talked about that today, that sometimes we tend not to want to bother people with our problems or the things that are bringing us down, in the field that I'm working in, and that I'm bringing to my platform. What's my good cheer? That mindset, it's all through my own experiences, and all those lessons that I'm searching out are different aspects of some of those dynamic characters in my own life growing up. So a lot of those topics I have personally experienced, right? Because I learned your purpose comes from your pain. And so, right? So this is the kind of things that I work with. So when I come into my live shows and I say I explore the inside and I explore the outside, it's in my own well being that I'm putting that work there, but also because of my brand and the way that I pivot and the way that I want to bring to the table, also, right? That mindset ends up here too, right? Those lessons that come into my life, that purpose that comes from my pain. But if I didn't share those lessons, if I said this too, I says, it's like you've you've broken your phone, right? It was a brand new phone. You're just not making you just got it. You just started making payments on it, and you can't come up with a couple of $1,000s to buy a new phone. You you stepped on it. It's destroyed, right? You got to pay your plan no matter what. And everybody says, "How's it going, Cindy? How's it? Oh, everything's good. Everything's fine, right? Everything's good." But you don't say, right? What's truly bothering you? Oh, darn, I broke my phone. Like, you could say it positively. You don't have to be negative in it, even though, right, it's not a good situation, but it's a spilt milk situation. The phone is busted. It's a spilt milk. Nothing you can do about that broken phone. But you can talk about that broken phone, couldn't you? I have a couple of phones on me. If that had happened to my nephew, right? He broke his phone. He can't get another phone. He can't afford another phone. He's still got to make the payments on his plan, and it would be an expensive plan because he likes his tech, right? That I would just pull out that spare phone, right? And we would just give it to him, and it wouldn't cost him anything. But unless I know, right, why he's upset, right? That, oh, it was a crappy day today. I stepped on my phone, right? Instead of just saying, oh, everything's good, everything's fine, we're on top of things, no worries, right? I have an extra phone. I can pass that along. But unless that conversation is had, how do I know that that phone is needed? Right? That's just a little bit of an example in that, because this is what I want to do. And it is in those conversations. And that's been kind of a word this week, too, is in our cooperation with each other. I've been delving a lot into history, and when I say going back to history, we're not going to Egypt. We're going way. We're going past Mesopotamia. We're going to Neolithic. We're going right. We're going to the Ice Age. We're going back to the very first Um, semblance of bones. What is it? 1.2 million years old. A human, a human, a humanoid, right? Somebody from our lineage. But they can't do any DNA tests because DNA breaks down at 1.6 million years. So if these bones are older than 1.6 million years, we can't get any DNA and we can't get any information. Not right now, right? But we're just in the beginning stage of the digital age of AI learning that we're going to be able to get some of these answers later on. It doesn't mean stop looking, stop collecting, right? Start looking for solutions and better ways. Just because you have a way, let me turn my lighting on. So it's going dark outside. There we go. And let me wipe down. I put lipstick on, and I'm finding this is a problem in my lives too, because sometimes I look like death rolled over, and so I don't want to look that way. So I put a little bit of lipstick, a little bit of lipstick on before I come in and do my lives. But it's not working out for me. I've been doing that for the past week or so because, right? I don't know if it's the lessons. Maybe it is that little bit of worry, right, about the future and the things that I got to get done, right? Where I think I should be now in comparison to where I wanted to be, right? Maybe it's in, right? How are we going to get a vehicle, right? You don't even have a job. And Cindy, what about your September vacation? And, right, if you're going back to work, are you going to tell the new employer that you can't work on this specific weekend because it's doors open in Winnipeg and you volunteer that weekend every year and that's coming up, but not for another month and a half? I can't be off work for another month and month and a half. See how I just laugh at it? It's because I do have that attitude that everything is going to be okay. I don't know how things will work out. I just trust that things work out, and they always do. They're not always painless, but they always work out, right? Still going to be here tomorrow, but unless we let people know, right, what's going on, where we're at, right? But like I said, I've almost had a vehicle one, two, and there was a third one, three times that the sign that the vehicle was coming in my direction. It's going to happen. It's just not sticking in the moment. But my sister, she got herself a nice one. So I'm super happy for her. She really really does need it. And her vehicle was not safe, and we shouldn't be taking chances with our vehicles. Not when it's like crazy town out there. I hear cars honking at each other right outside my building like all the time, and it's not even any sharp corners or anything there. And yet there's close calls all the time. Okay. Um Andrew says, "Well, growing up I lived in Indiana, then Ohio, then Illinois, and then back to Indiana by the time I was 15. For me, it wasn't a good experience. The lack of lasting friendships, unresolved relationships." Ah, I did not like the moves either, Andrew. I just didn't have a choice. I was a kid. Right? My dad was living his best life, and we just were along for that ride. We just had to go along for that ride. But if we were going along for that ride, I wanted to make the best opportunity out of each one of those new lives, because that's what it was like. Some of those changes that those places, houses that we moved to were really big changes in my life personally. And again, when you talk about relationships and friendships, yeah, I had problems. I had social problems, but I had to overcome those social problems. And I believe that I did. I think, it is in our experiences, that I was able to make a few close friends, that those things that were not important, that I felt were not important to people, and I was a little bit self conscious about them, those were the people that I would go hang out with, right? When I was growing up in the 60s and 70s, I think I was the only, I'm not going to say fat kid, I was going to say overweight kid. We're not just talking 5 or 10 pounds. We're going to say obese kid in the school. This day and age in school, weight is a serious problem, but we have become a very immobile society, haven't we? Right? We have been a little slow in that. And even in the digital age and the gaming and stuff, even in the way that kids are relying on the technology to help them in their education. And when things are that easy, when things are handed to us, doesn't make us want to work very hard for the things that we want, right? We'll work hard for what we need, but we won't work hard for the things that we want. And with those things that we want, we'll turn those into things that we need, so that we do get them. And that's a truth too, because these little kids are being born asking for their $2,000 iPhones, aren't they? And the children have no appreciation for the value of money. It was one of my favorite things about my job, is when the parents would give the kids money to pay for their items, their little toy they're picked out or something in the store. And I would make a big deal out of the sale, from the point of ringing it in and taking their money and handing them their change and giving them their receipt and putting it in a little bag for them, right? And the please and the thank yous and all the social interactions that go along with that. And it was a really, really a good thing, because there were lots of kids, because they saw me all the time, that they got to know me, that they were comfortable with me, that they continuously practice on these social skills, in these please and these thank yous and the small weather talk or whatever it is, right? In those small interactions that are so important. These days, even myself, I can't remember the last time I talked on the phone. I text and I message. I don't use the phone for anything except for anybody who requires my phone number. But if they phone, probably wouldn't answer the phone if I didn't recognize the source of the phone call, right? So we are in that age where we are becoming very socially awkward. Some of those notes actually this week, and some of those lessons that I was taking in, um, that they were I was wondering what the difference was between the digital age and the age of artificial intelligence, right? What the difference was between the digital age and AI. Well, it turns out that that AI is only a subcategory of the digital age. They're actually calling it the intelligent age, right? And the intelligent age. I don't know about that, because going way, way back, there was lots of intelligence going on, like lots. But maybe it's in the volume, maybe it's in, right, becoming more of the majority that, right? Like even 5 years ago, Seniors weren't using computers and cell phones and Facebook messaging, and they just weren't doing that. You would handed my mama a remote control. She'd take that remote control and she'd chuck it up against the wall, smash it into 50 million pieces. That's what she thought of remote control. Now it's just like voice, isn't it? Voice command. Yeah. My mother did not like technology in any way. And seniors are set. It's not like you can't teach an old dog new tricks, but if it doesn't serve them in their life, they're not going to use it. Just like I'm not using the phone anymore. I text and I message. That's what I do with my phone while I use it for filming videos and editing and right, all kinds of stuff. But I'm just saying on the norm. I am not in the norm. When the digital age hit, I was on the computer. I was only on the computer because I was looking for work. I had to learn how to do resumes. I needed to, because I was an introvert, because I didn't want to make my first touch base, which is the scariest part for me, is that first face to face. I wanted to send all my job applications by right emailing them off and stuff. I got drawn in to the digital age. I got drawn into well, Googling, uh, watching YouTube videos, in some of those things that I love to do. Eventually, right? Looking at applying to be on Big Brother Canada, and then the last one was then to build my brand, to start Prairie Dodgers, in order to build that followers, in order that I would have a better following and a better chance at getting on to Big Brother Canada, and then falling in love with my brand, and then recognizing that I couldn't be an urban explorer my entire life. Eventually, I might be 90, I might be 100 years old, but eventually I'm not going to be able to get into these old abandoned buildings and be out in the farm fields with farm equipment and blades and stuff sticking out of 6 foot high grass, or fall into a well, because when they covered it up, they only covered it up with logs. And now it's been 100 years and the logs have decayed, and I just walk right into the well. It didn't make sense for me. So I was looking to change, to make some movement in my brain, not to, right, to explore different things. And I did, and I do explore different things, right? But that change, right? That change is everything, you guys. I didn't know, Andrew, that you went to so many schools. And yes, I would have caused you grief and difficulties and stuff. But it's our overcoming of these difficulties that give us those lessons and those bits of resilience, so that when we have to make that next change, it's not as difficult, right? Yeah. I delved into it a little bit different than you, Andrew. I was scared too. I didn't like change, but I didn't think I had any say in whether we were going to move. I know I didn't have a say. We didn't even have any notice. We're moving next week, you guys. And that's it. Pack your stuff. We're moving in a week. And we would be gone. Oh my goodness. That time that my dad bought that farm up in northern British Columbia, because some government bigwig got in his car and gave him the tip that they were building the Alaska pipeline. And there was only a shed. Well, it was a shack. It was a house at one point, but nobody had lived in it in over 50 years for sure. You could see outside through the planks in the wall. My parents covered the walls with blankets, right, to keep the cold out in northern BC. is just as cold as Winnipeg, Manitoba, where I'm from now, if you've never popped into one of my lives before. Hi, I'm Cindy. I explore the inside and the outside. I guess we're talking about change a little bit tonight. That's our show and tell. But I said that I was going to pick something tonight and we were going to still having a show and tell. But that show and tell would be about that one specific thing. So as we're talking, because I didn't pick what that one thing was, I had something on my mind. I have some parcels. I have 2 parcels that still need to be mailed out, Christmas parcels, right? The plan wasn't to not have a job to put a roof over my head. So I held back on mailing the next parcel because they were big. They are big boxes and they're right in Canada, it's very expensive. And so I went through the box and I picked one thing out of one of the boxes. And so I'm going to mail that tomorrow, you guys, right? Before it crosses my mind again that I can't get these things off. And then I'll go in to the next box and find a little something and we'll mail that one off too. And then, right, when we're better grounded, better rooted in something that's putting a roof over my head, then we'll get those bigger that parcels that go with it off. But I want you guys to get a little Merry Christmas out of me. I told you I'm a little bit of a procrastinator, right? If it's not one thing, it is another. But that's the one thing about me, I don't hold on to money because in my growing up, right, saving money was not something we did. We had windfalls, right, where a big chunk of money would come into our life, but actually, my sister Tracy was the first person to actually learn about finances. I have 2 sisters who do really well in that. And then me and my sister Carolyn were kind of on the same wavelength in the other aspects of it, right? But I don't know where I was going to go on that. Oh, so I am a little bit. Oh, I hate this word. Stingy? Is that the word? What's a different word for stingy, which isn't bad? Where you kind of squirrel the money away and stuff. This is what I like to do. Little jar here, little bit in this bank account here. Let's hold on to this now because this might happen, right? Just like what I did with my groceries, you guys, with the 2 bags of rice I got 3 tins of coffee and I got 2 big bags of tea bags and every spice that you can think of. I'm stocked. I'm ready for everything to crash. I know nobody else is, and I hope it doesn't. Right, run us into a recession. But this world is a little bit jumpy right now. That's the word I'm going to say. It's a little bit jumpy right now. There's nothing that's settling. There is nothing that's truly being grounded. Even myself, like I said, I'm trying to ground in getting things done in those projects around the house. You would never know it looking at my house right now, but they are happening. I know they are happening. And right, this next week coming up, I have my list written down of all the things that I need to accomplish. And it was starting today. And the first thing we do was, like I said, the taxes. It's the first year, right? I did well last year. It was, right? I had to pick up a lot of extra hours because of, right, people taking time off at work. And then also I wanted to save for my car and stuff. So I took those extra hours on, knowing I probably have to pay a little bit more in the taxes, but also at the same time not recognizing as soon as that year was over, then the job was going to be over too. And I still have to pay those taxes. But that's okay. I got my taxes done. Tomorrow I work on my sister's taxes. It'll only take me an hour. Like I said, I'm pretty pretty good at doing the tax returns, the simple tax returns. I'm not going to be doing your RSSP contributions and stuff like that, but I will do a simple tax return is pretty easy. And because I like to find the money, and I could have checked boxes today, right? I might have been able to even get a little bit of a refund, but in my consciousness, I couldn't be that person, right? I couldn't be that millionaire not paying their taxes, even though I'm not a millionaire. I can't be that person to not pay their taxes. And maybe me being the example is the low income person who can't really afford it at this point, but going to honestly pay what I owe because I appreciate the service and the money that I get, or sorry, what I get for the money that I am paying out there. And I do believe I get a lot for my money. And even if I don't use those services, if I needed them, if I just needed to go to the hospital, or if I needed to call an ambulance or something, just to be able to get some of that covered, right? That's worth it, just in paying my taxes right there, right? Yeah. Still need that dental, you guys. I'm only mentioning it because they were talking about, they started a new program last year for the kids and for the seniors, where they can get a certain amount, once every 2 or 3 years. They can get a certain amount of dental done, covered under the medical system and dental system, and it went over really really well. And so they're looking to maybe extend that even further, to not just the kids in the low income families, but to the low income families in general. And maybe not this year, but because I used my CRA from last year as an assessment, maybe I would qualify, right? It's honest. It's not something I would be doing sneakily, and it would be help me out a little bit. 100%, right? I'd have to look into it. We're just going to get my sister's taxes done, then I'll double check and look into, right? I know I'll probably look for a little bit more, but it has to be honest no matter what. I don't know if any of you other guys have those qualms. I look at these things and, oh, should I claim this? Should I claim this? Right? No, no, I'm not gonna claim that. There was actually even a button that I probably would qualify, but my other sister is more deserving of that, but she doesn't do her taxes, but her husband does. So I'm thinking that maybe that would be something that he should claim, because my sister needed quite a bit of help this past year. She was sick quite a bit, in and out of the hospital quite a bit, and my sister and my brother-in-law helped her out so much. They live in the same building, and so it was very convenient. It was so smart, just the way things work out, right? Oh my goodness, the way things work out. Such a miracle that my sister's life came together the way it did when it did. Yeah, I'll keep you guys posted. We'll know in the next few weeks for sure what's going on. But it looks like my sister Tracy is going in for a quadruple bypass. And my sister does not like doctors, so you can imagine how serious it is in order for her to make that decision to agree to even have that operation, right? Um, yeah. I talked to my other sister today. I says, if you talked to her in the past few days, I talked to her last week. I says, yeah, but she's going in for this operation. She didn't even know how serious this operation really, really was, right? And so yeah, me and her, we're gonna go, not tomorrow, but maybe the next day. We'll pop pop in and visit my sister Tracy and see how she's doing, see if there's anything we can do to help her out, right? The timings for everything, even in the timings of me, letting this job go, because I could help my sister out lots. If she goes in for this operation, I could help her out at home. She won't have to do anything except just rest and relax, right? But when we go, we'll talk, and I do want to have that talk with her anyway, because like I said, it is a very serious conversation. And when we have that opportunity to actually have those conversations, it's a beautiful thing, right? It really is. My dad, he always expected, he lived 25 years longer than what they told him he was going to live. But so he had those conversations with us constantly. Every 6 months, we would get that sit down, very long conversations, so that, when it did happen, that there was no loose ends. There was no feeling bad about anything, right? And those conversations are important to have, right? To let people know how much you cared about them, how much you appreciated them, right? And just to let them know they're not in whatever they're not in it alone. Just let us know what you're in, right? Because you don't know who's got that, right? That comfy pair of slippers in mind for you, or going to take care of your cats, offer to take care of your cats, or come and clean your house. Like, you don't know unless you express. And you don't have to do it in a noisy me, or an angry me, or a vindictive me, but just say it as a fact, and be vocal about it, because nobody knows what you need unless they know what you need, right? And that's exactly what me and my sister were talking about today. We need to talk more. We need to cooperate with each other more. you know it's just like, in the old days, like when I say the old days, let's go back to the 1400s or the 1500s, right? We'd have these villages, and they would all be made up with different people with different gifts and different talents, but they all contributed to the well-being of the village, right? From the blacksmith to the candlestick maker to the bread maker, right? To the seamstress, to the laundress, right? To the teachers. And this is how communities were made. I think where we go wrong, though, is because the the bread maker is just making the bread for somebody, when before, or even now, just to use it as an analogy, instead of breaking the bread for them, why don't we show them how to make their own bread, right? And that's only because we that stuff, because that's the roof over our head. They're the bread maker. If you know how to make your own bread, you're not going to buy the bread from me, right? But we do have to teach each other, right? And just understand that everybody has to bring something to the table, right? I get that. It's like I said, it's in this moment I am scurrying around trying to be busy, but I want to make sure, like I said, the things that I'm being busy in are going to serve me, right? Serve my brand, serve my family, or serve whoever has come across my path. And that means I'm going out for walks, and right, I'm having conversations, I'm smiling, I'm being social. But to get back to what I was saying, being not talents of mine, but that was being introduced in the repetitiveness, that I learned to be social that way, right? in making friends with somebody and letting them know I needed a job. Oh my goodness, I can't work here anymore. This job is not allowing me to have any exercise. And somebody says, oh my goodness, come work with me at the bar, Cindy. We'll run your butt off. And I said, okay. And I became a waitress. And then when you can become a waitress, you start with the please and the thank yous. And then somebody seeing the excitement in your face because they gave you $1, right? On top of your hourly wage, I got $1. And that big smile warms somebody up, right? That's the light. That's the energy. And that's right, that the person who's giving me that dollar is feeling just as good as I am at receiving that dollar. And I recognize that. And so I got better at my craft, right? And then it became, right, in that social part. And that's where I lost it, right? I made lots of friends. I learned to be social. I learned, right, to care about people and to people care about me and to let people know what my needs were and they let me know what their needs were. Oh, you're moving at the end of the month? I'm not doing anything. I'm in. You've got an extra pair of hands. Or I need movers. Oh my goodness. And Joe says, you need a mover. Oh, I'll move. And I go, oh my goodness, but it's Saturday. Saturday's your favorite night at the bar. No problem, Cindy, I'm in. And I'll say, that's fantastic. I'll buy the case of beer for you, right? It'll be Friday night, just as long as you're not driving as you're moving me, right? But again, it's what we bring to each other's life in that it's what we're doing right here, you guys, right? It's what we're doing here, right here in this company that we keep every Sunday night, right? Each one of us a different character, a different personality with different gifts, but this is our village, right? Right? I don't know the poets and all the great movies, right? But you know what? I got Andrew, and Andrew tells me, and Andrew will say, "Oh, but did you see so and so this writer?" And then I'll write it down, and then after my live show, I go in and Google that author, or he's taught us something, right? Or with me, even when I talk about the Neolithics and the Ice Age, and right, that this is our village, that we're all contributing to this village. And not, right, you don't necessarily have to be an expert on cavemen and humanoids and evolution, because I know a little bit. Andrew, he knows about the poets. Kathy, and colorings. Oh my goodness. And her motivation and the inspiration every time she comes in and she touches me with one of her kind thoughts or that little bit of light. Like everybody, right? Everybody contributes to this village, right? Owen and his beautiful personality, who, right, never fails. He greets every single person in every single live. And even though I miss a lot of the messages, I can tell you, Owen never misses somebody when they come into the lives for the first time, or even the second, third, fourth time. Never fails to recognize somebody. It's just these sweetest gifts, right, that add to the light in this village of ours, right? Every Sunday, every Sunday night. I don't have that village on Monday to Friday yet, but those lessons are there to come across somebody's path. And whether that's when I go live, whether that's the next day, the next week, the next year, maybe I will have been gone for hundreds of thousands of years. And, right, mankind tried everything to save. Right? And then you think, oh my goodness, was it as simple as that? In just each person creating the best human being they possibly could, living and interconnecting and socializing and cooperating with each other, right? That we will be able to. We're just having a hard time in this digital age. I have no idea, right? That everybody is so attached to the screen. That's why it's important to have hobbies, you guys. Because if your job entails being on the screen, if one of those hobbies you have entails you being on the screen, that you should have a few hobbies that can take you away from that in a way that you can practice those social skills, right? Not just yelling at swearing at the screen because something got blown up, like your character, right? That we actually have things that are in this real world, like that job that put the roof over my head, that made it so that I can ground in that and just ground in that, nothing else, knowing I could ground in that, practice my craft, enjoy my job, smile at my job, right? Till I couldn't, right? But then those are the signals that you're supposed to pay attention to say, right? Time to delve into a hobby, take yourself away and delve into one of those other interests of yours. Or sometimes it's just a matter of getting out of there altogether. And sometimes, right, it's spur of the moment. We don't have that preparedness, right? It would be nice that we do. It's something that I practice in my goal setting, in my little bit of looking forward a little bit, just to make sure that the bills are paid, that the little kinks that could easily trip me up are not poking out of the ground in the moment. But in the end, right, I still have to deal with whatever is going to come across my path, and whatever come across my path can rub it a good way or could rub it a bad way for any one of us. That could happen. We all know what it feels like to have a bad day turn into an amazing day, right? I've had those days. Those are special. But we know what it's like to have a special day turn into a bad day. I've had those too. And especially if those days land on, right, like a statutory holiday like Christmas or Easter, right? And it has happened, and those impact too, right? Okay. I'm just going to come back here because it looks like uh yeah, but you're right there, Andrew, about the friendships, and that's why I was talking a little bit about those social. We can't lose those social skills, right? Here on Sunday nights, this crew anyway, we're practicing, right? It's important for us to move with others, right? You move by yourself, you're segregating yourself, and you become that dynamic person that nobody can relate to. And I think that's what happened to me. And it was only through the grace of God and those circumstances that made it necessary for me sometimes to put a roof over my head, sometimes it desperation to have somebody on my side, that we search out different things. And I say, if that change is coming into your life, none of us likes change. None of us do. But we do grow from it, don't we? We do have to outstretch ourselves. We do have to adapt and conquer, right? We do have to adapt and conquer. And yeah, and that's nobody's going to do that for us. We have to do that for ourselves. And isn't it amazing, that that we are here. And when I'm saying we are here, we have been here, you guys. This crew specifically, this specific crew that's talking in the comments, we have been together since the beginning. That's years, you guys. You gave me every Sunday off or on, right? Because you even, I wouldn't even say you gave me every Sunday, because if you didn't show up on Sunday, you would still be shooting me a thought. I know you would. Oh, I can't do it today. This, I just don't feel like it. The pain of what I had to deal with, or I didn't get sleep last night, or oh my goodness, I'm dealing with this. I just can't go into Cindy's live tonight. But you did by giving me that thought. And I know this crew here right now, right? If they couldn't come into my life, like Owen when he wasn't here last week. He was here last week. He was here last week because we didn't notice he was here, and we mentioned we hoped everything was okay, right? And we know Owen because he's here all the time. And no matter what he was going through, right? We know that if it was bearable, he would have, right? If it was even just bearable, he would have popped in and hung out with us. So, yeah, whatever it is, I think yeah, we'll just leave it for Owen to shoot me an email so I know where to go, because it might not be anything, you know, really huge, and I'm not jumping to conclusions in any of that, right? And sometimes, right, we don't even want to talk about it. It's still fresh sometimes. Sometimes it's uh it's something that's not been dealt with. Sometimes it's just an open wound that just even looking at it, talking about it, giving it any reference at all is enough to trigger us, right? And I think for this crew here, we get enough triggers, right? We do get enough triggers, but grateful that I hung out with my sister. I was tired today. It wasn't a big job because it was great time teamwork and it was evenly distributed and it was family. But in being family, like I said, if one is overcome by tiredness or crankiness or something, that we would vocal that so that somebody would know that we're not being a B or an A hole, right? I don't say those words. I grew up in a household that we were not allowed to swear. Um, my dad say when you turn 18, right, you can swear, but when you're in my house, you're not swearing. And by the time I was 18, I wasn't a swearer, so it wasn't something that I did very often. Periodically, right? There is that slip in those triggers, in those surprises, or those falling flat. Oh, S, right? They sometimes fly, but not very often. I'm sure you guys have probably heard me swear maybe a half a dozen times in the half a dozen years that these live shows have been going on. I'm pretty sure that these live shows have been going on for at least a half a dozen years. It only took me a couple of years to be able to get in front of the camera. But like I said, it was those skills that I built up, in working in the bars and needing to put a roof over my head and learning those social skills. But, towards the end, when I was a VLT addict, they ended up actually being social skills and not social tendencies, right? I'm sure they still were. I'm sure I still cared. I'm sure I still allowed myself to be pulled into those conversations and experiences. But to the degree that I cared, I probably cared more about my own problems than anybody else's problems. And that's probably a truth. Okay. Good, Owen. Please email me. Let me know what's going on. Um, Andrew says, that reminds me of how people greet one another with, how are you? I can't stand that. Many people are going through difficult times and not having a good time. And that's true. But even through our difficult times, I think it's important to put the good times in there. I mean, intentionally put the good times in there. I am a person who comes from immediate gratification. When I was going through a difficult time, I was making sure that I was indulging in the things that made it bearable, right? Like the pink ice donuts with sprinkles. Not a good choice, but it was a choice for me. And it saved me, you guys, right? That immediate, that immediate comfort. And that smile that that pink ice donut put on my face and put on my heart and put on my soul, that kind of filled up that empty spot inside of me, right? I believe it's important, even more important, to do those kindnesses, and maybe not in an addictive way like I do, right? But in that kindness to yourself, to say, oh my goodness, right? It's almost like chicken soup. Isn't that a great analogy right there? When you're not feeling good and you're laying in bed and you can't go to school, oh, right? And your mom makes you chicken soup, right? Or puts a cold compress over your forehead, those things to make you feel better, to tell you a story, to hold your hand and just rub your hand or stroke your hair, your forehead, right? To let you know that people care. And that physically manifests into feeling better. It does. There is no doubt your emotional well being is as important as your physical well being. But sometimes your emotional well being is kind of dented. That's when we have to intentionally do those kindnesses for ourselves. Right? Right? I remember the my father's the day my father's funeral. And a lot of people would look at this as a form of disrespect, but I wasn't really in any kind of state. I was kind of in a daze through that entire process, just spaced right out, because that's what empaths do when they come to these traumas in their life. They call it individuate, right? It you disappear, right? You make yourself disappear so that you can handle whatever difficulty that you're in. You go blank with that. And the day of my father's funeral, I had my friend Raymond, and he actually had to break down my apartment door and then break down my bathroom door because I was in a bathtub for over 24 hours. I was just laying in cold water in the bathtub, spaced out. That's how difficult it was for me. Got me through that, but there was still the funeral and stuff. The day of the fat funeral, my good friend, and I don't know where he is in his life right now, but in recognizing what he did for me, it was so kind and so heartfelt, right? And it was a gift that I don't know if I ever truly expressed to him how much I appreciate it. Because again, sometimes, and I think I was wrapped up more in my own problems than anybody else's problems, right? And and he says, Cindy, let's go to the bar tonight. Let's go dancing. Let's go dancing. And that in the 80s and 90s, right? This is what we did. We called them clubbers. That's what I was. I was a clubber. And I was always trying to lose weight, so there was no better way of losing weight than or getting exercise for me than dancing, because I had to love it. It was swimming, walking, bike riding, and dancing. That's what I did. And I went to the bar every single night, even before I worked there. And we did the night of my father's funeral, and we went to the bar and we partied like there was no tomorrow. That was one of the most difficult days of my entire life, right? And yet, there was that span of a few hours in the evening that allowed me to ground that night. It allowed me to exhaust myself in possibly the dancing and the crying and being with my comfort of my friends, because they were my friends. Like, I felt my friends out. I didn't have a lot of friends, but I knew who were my friends. And right, were my friends always happy with me? No. Right, were my sisters always happy with me? No. We drove each other crazy quite often, but we loved each other and we wanted the best for each other. And I felt that intent. I knew who my friends were, and I was so grateful for my friends. And that's just one example, right? How to gift ourselves in kindnesses, right? When things are not going well. I'm not encouraging anybody to get a 40-ounce bottle of alcohol or shoot heroin, or right, to go spend every last penny of your inheritance on piddly useless things, because we do that to fill up the emptiness in us, don't we? But little things, even if it's just talking to ourselves or being with people, and in that cooperation, sharing, right? I'm not experiencing that sadness that you might be going through. I'm not experiencing that. But it's not that I've never experienced that, right? So at the very least, I can sit with you and I can comfort you in that. But how do I know you need comforting? Unless it's expressed. And lots of times, like Andrew says, how are you? I'm fine. I'm fine. What the hell is I'm fine? Is that neutral? Is that I'm dealing with stuff, but I can deal with that? Or is it life is amazing, right? Unless we express that person, that experience that is most needed in that moment, won't even have an opportunity to come across our path. And that's one thing I've learned. Gotta appreciate the people around me. We're not all the same. It takes all kinds to make the world, and we're all different, right? And we have quirky things about us. And maybe sometimes in choosing our friends, we don't allow those quirky parts to come to the surface because we're worried about what somebody's going to think. But you know what? If you're communicating, if you're socializing, if you're trying, even if you do find somebody different, right? That person's hanging out with you anyway. And if you can feel them out, right? Maybe it would be okay to mention you're having a crappy day, right? Or so and so did this and got myself in this situation and I don't know how to resolve it. I'll just, right? You're just talking to yourself, but because you're with somebody in that expression, they have an idea and you go, oh my goodness, I was just talking to them yesterday and they said the same thing, that they wish they could fix it, right? And you have no idea the gifts that can come across our paths. right? If you're in a position, right? Nothing's going to come across my path. I'm sitting here at this desk. Maybe somebody here could say something, right? So that comes across the path in that interconnection that we have here. So maybe that wasn't a good analogy, but say I wasn't online in this moment, nothing can come across my path. I don't answer the phone. If the phone rings, I'm not going to pick it up. I only check my messages a couple of times a day, right? But I could go to the oven and leave my dinner on the stove, and the next thing you know, right? Right? It's just in that, I don't know, appreciating that it does take all kinds to make the world, and that, we are here for each other. That's what my Sunday night live show was for. Nothing in particular, but everything if needed in the moment. Sometimes no news is good news, right? You do the show and tell, which I'm going to find something right now, and we'll do a little show and tell before I end. How much time I have? Just a couple minutes. Okay, you guys, a show and tell, something interesting. Show and tell. Um, Show and tell. I don't know, you guys. Oh, here we go. Andrew will like this one. Show and tell, you guys. These are two books that Andrew sent to me. Me and Andrew have been friends. Oh my goodness, how long have I had these books now? Probably 4 or 5 years ago. You sent me these, didn't you, Andrew? I'm just going to pull this down in the comment just so that we can stay on top of this. Um, it was a kindness that he did for me. Now, I wrote him a letter. I can't remember what it was. We've been exchanging little kindnesses towards each other for for quite a while now. I'm trying to remember, but I remembered what he said, that he sent me these, and he specifically picked these books for me because this was the first book in Canada to hit 1 million in sales. Sorry, not this one. This one. This is just number 2. This is just the extension. He sent me both. The original one. Oh, wait a minute. No, it was this one. This is the first one. This is the first one, and this was the second one, right? And it was the first book to hit 1 million in sales here in Canada. And Andrew had this in his collection, and he sent them to me. He mailed them to me. It was just like the sweetest thing, and just in the thought of the books, right? The thought that he put into which books he was going to send me in that. uh When I ask someone, how are you? I'm really asking people can really tell me if they're having a bad day or a bad time. Um, Andrew says, that's right. Jalna was the first Canadian $1 million seller. It's partially based on some of my relatives. And you still gave me these? Oh my goodness. Some of his relatives. Oh my goodness. And look in the house. Did your relatives have a house like that? Andrew, well-to-do mansion like that? Yeah. And actually there's a few of these books, the Jalna series. But yeah, I've got the two of them. But the thing is, why I'm showing to you in show and tell is because they are so special to me that they actually get one of my spots here, right? And my most favorites on display are on this shelf behind me. My Pippi Longstockings books. Pippi Longstockings was a television show, Finnish show, I think from Switzerland. There was in subtitles all the time. Um, it was my babysitter growing up. Uh, my life and my adventurous persona is based on Pippi Longstockings, and uh, and so it holds a special spot there. Then all my series of the Ice Ages, and I got a new Ice Age um, a couple of weeks ago when my customers bought it for me. Then the Jelna books, because, right, Andrew sent that to me and it meant something really important to me. And, I wanted something to signify, just like that picture that Kathy sent me, that's on my wall. Oh, let's do one more show and tell. My my picture, these things are important to me, and you look at my house and you say, oh, you're so eclectic, you got so much stuff. But my stuff is important to me, right? They hold special places in my life. And this is a picture that Kathy did for me, and she sent me this from all the way from Nova Scotia, right? Yeah, I just love this. And this one sits at the entrance of my door, and I look at this every day, every day, because it's important to me. It's that smile. If that one thing is not going good, this could be the thing that makes me smile in the most catastrophic moment that I could be having. And then I just look at this and I go, oh, that was so amazing, right? And there's the smile. It doesn't take away from the bad thing that's going on, but it's one of these, right? Like, everybody, just breathe in and just do a sigh. Like, you should be doing sighs every single day, right? And sometimes, you don't even have to have a difficult moment to give yourself the gift of a sigh, right? I do numerous sighs. Sighs when I come out of a frustration, a sigh just out of, oh, it's all done, right? It feels absolutely amazing. It gives you the sense of accomplishment. But anyway, these special things. And then again, the books that Andrew gave me, the Jalna books. And then, of course, I'm an Evan Carmichael fan. I came in to Mindset through Evan Carmichael's content and, in wanting to save my brand. And look at, I'm still here. It looks different. But if you're doing it right, right, it should look different. It should look different. Okay, you guys, I managed to keep that spiel going for the whole hour and a half without a true show and tell. But, when you look at my things and I say I'm not attached to my stuff, right? Except for the white cream color things. Okay. That just brings to attention to myself like, no, that's not completely true, because I am attached to the kindnesses and the thoughtfulnesses. So anything that I have, right, that has a kindness or a thoughtfulness attached to it, that ain't going nowheres. That ain't going nowheres either, right? You guys aren't going anywheres. I'm not going anywheres. You guys. Okay, let's just come right back in here. Um, oh, Nancy made it in. Hello, Nancy. Okay, I'll see you later. I need to go. Oh, I didn't even know Nancy was there. Oh, she's still here. Oh, okay. See, there are maybe 15 novels about the White Oaks family at Jelna. Good reading, but not well known anymore. Uh, Everybody, have a good night, Nancy. Okay, you guys. Oh, I'm glad you remembered that picture, Andrew. The picture means a lot to me. And I actually got to make sure I hang it up again. But I love the frame because you can see the picture in it. It doesn't have a ton of glare on it, right? Yeah, and didn't she do a nice job on all those colors? I just love the colors. And it's so me. You look at that, and that's just Cindy. That's just Cindy. Okay, you guys. That's it for tonight. I will be back tomorrow. I don't know when tomorrow. I don't know quite what the plan is. If I'm helping my sister out, if I'm on my own, I still got projects to do. I've still got a list of ugh, 12 things to get done this week, and I don't think I can scratch any of it off yet. So I'll be at it. You guys, I hope everybody has a great week. If you have a difficult week, try to give yourself some of those small kindnesses, or at least talk to the people that come into your life, right? If they say, how's your day? Don't feel bad. They asked how your day was. Just take it as if they really wanted to know, right? And if you might surprise yourself to find out they really did want to know, right? Just like Andrew, they thought you were going to say, I'm fine. And when you told them the truth, right? Then you got into a really good conversation and maybe, right? Some resolution or a solution. Okay, you guys, that's it for tonight. Thank you, everybody, for popping in. Sorry if I missed anybody. For those of you who pop in, lady, put your feet up, come and hang out. I leave the conversation going on this live. But yeah, if you guys want to pop in next Sunday, come in, say hi, join in on the conversation, right? We don't know you're there until we know you're there. Okay, you guys, have a good night.